Hello students, good afternoon all. This is me, Dr. Kales. Welcome you all to this session. In these sessions, we are going to discuss some important laws related to the protection of the women. Today is March 8. On this day, every year, we are celebrating the International Women's Day because on this date, in the year 1917, the women in the Soviet Russia they gained the voting rights. So, to commemorate this day, as the dignity for the women, we are celebrating the International Women's Day. So, as the preliminary examinations for the Odisha Public Service Commissions is approaching very fast, we have to remember this date as well as the theme of this date. So, the theme of this date for the year 2021, please students do remember the theme is the challenged world in an alert world and challenges comes changes. So challenged world in an alert world and challenges comes from change. So dear students, please do remember the theme of this day. It is very important for your OPSC preliminary examination is concerned. As we know, women in this world they want they want and deserve an equal positions, equal future, and a society which is free from any stigma, any stereotypes, and any sorts of violence. They do not like to stay in such a society where stigma, stereotypes, and violence is prevalent. So they want a future that that is sustainable, that is peaceful, and that is equipped with equal rights and opportunities for all. So to achieve this, the world needs women at every table where decisions are being made. So the women are to be given equal rights in terms of decision making. So this is a positive aspect of the women rights. When we are viewing the other side of this aspect, we will find a negative attitudes of the current society towards the women. The women are historically ignored. The women are historically getting injustice. So violence against women is not a new phenomenon. It is not a new things to the women. So women have been the victims of violence all through the ages, in all societies, in all cultures, in all regions, and in all religious communities of the world. So India is not an exception. So India also faces a alarming trend in the violence trend towards the women. As the report in the year 2020 that is released by the NCRB, that is National Crime Record Bureau, it says there is an increase in 7% violence against the women. Cynically, Uttar Pradesh is the state where the maximum numbers of violence against women has been encountered during the past years. When coming to the concept or coming to the situation of the molestations, our state Odisha stood second after UP as per the NCRB 2020 report. So please do respect, please do please behave very in a very well manner to the women, right? So let's see what are those laws, what are those acts, or what are those provisions that are exclusively given in the Indian context, in the Indian law, that not only protects the dignity of the woman but also ensures a healthy life for the women. So let's see. So in this segment, we are going to discuss three important laws dear students, please do remember the three important laws. You can quote these laws everywhere in your GS paper as well as in your essay paper. So the first law is the Muslim Women Protections of Right on Marriages Act, that is 2019, which is popularly known as the Triple Talaq Bill or Triple Talaq Act. Second, the Domestic Violence Act of 2005. Third, the harassment of the women at the workplace. So exclusively we will deal with in detail with these three laws. Not in detail, only those provisions which are exclusively helpful for the students in writing in the main examination. So let's get started. First, the Muslim Women Protections of Rights on Marriages Act 2019. So this act is very much important for the examinations as this act is related to the Sahabanu case. As as we know, the marriage is a social institution. It in every form of religion there is marriage. In Hindu religion, in Muslim religion, even in Christian, Parsi, Jain, Buddhist, in every religion, the marriage is a sacred institution, social institutions. Right? So we are dealing in this particular act the Muslim marriages, because when a Muslim man is going to marry a Muslim woman, if due to certain reason they are willing to get separated from each other, they have to give divorce. So in Muslim the divorce is given from either sides, from either side, whether it is husband or his wife, in terms of talak. So talak can be given either in phone, either in text messages. If you are uttering, if you are saying three times in one go, talak talak talak, then that talak is accepted by the other. So when this talak is given in phone or in the text messages, or this text message in the Muslim also known as talak nama, the talak has to be accepted by the wife or by the husband. As per this intellects, so this is an historical injustice given to the Muslim women. So there is story from which this Muslim Women Protections of Rights on Marriages Act 2019 came. That lady was Sahabanu. Sahabanu, after the marriage, after 38 years of marriage, she received a talak from his husband. But according to the Muslim law, his husband has to give the maintenance for this divorcee or for this ex-wife only for 90 days. By that time, after a marriage of around uh, 30 32 years, sorry, 38 years, this madam Sahabanu was very old. So he approached Supreme Court, and Supreme Court in its landmark decisions, he told it observes and told, please, your ex-husband must give some alimony or some sorts of maintenance to you. So this triggered a massive protest in the year 1986, for which the Rajiv Gandhi government passed a special law. That special law is Muslim Women Protection of Right on Marriages, not marriages. It is on divorce in the year 2000, in year 1986, on divorce. 1986. This law was passed by the Rajiv Gandhi government in the year 1986, and this act drew a wide range of criticisms from all corners of the society. For that reason, the Rajiv Gandhi government failed. After 1986, in the year 2019, the BJP government under the captaincy of the Prime Minister Modi passed this law, Muslim Women Protection of Right on Marriages Act 2019, where the instant saying of the talak, three times talak, is unconstitutional, it is unethical, it is unlawful. If such acts are there, then it must be dealt with severe punishment. So let's see what are the positions. So we have seen what is the Sahabanu case in the year 1985. So this Sahabanu famous judgment that leads to the enactment of this act. Then, so here the Muslim Women Protection on Divorce Act, which I have told in the year 1986, was passed by the Rajiv Gandhi government. Right. So in this particular case, there is an act that is known as Criminal Procedure Code. Under Code of Criminal Procedures, there is a section known as 125. Section 125. In this section, the law says that if a woman is getting divorced from his husband, then she is entitled to get certain amount of money, or she is entitled to live or to receive some financial support from his husband. As per the Shariat law, that is a Muslim law, and as per the AIMPLB, All India Muslim Personal Law Board, they are denying and they are saying we are not going to or we are not going to give respect this sections 125 of the Criminal Procedures Code, as we have a different law, as we have a different marriage law. So in this tussle from the 1986 to up to 2018, this was in the frozen box. So thanks to the Modi government, who not only gave a historical justice to the Muslim women. Here we have encountered the what is the triple talak concept. If you are giving talak 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 three times in one go, either in phone messages or in talaknama, then that talak must be expected by the others. If there is talak between the women and the men, then it is valid only for 90 days. If within this 90 days, if the man is wanting to receive his wife again, then he can receive his wife, and they sit together and resolve this dispute. So this 90 days, so here the men have to pay the maintenance for the women and the children only for 90 days. So this 90 days period is the iddat period. If the 90 days is passed, then this woman will be no more a wife of that man. If the man wants to receive his ex-wife after 90 days, then his ex-wife cannot return back to his husband in a normal mode. So to do this, his ex-wife has to marry another guy after 90 days. Then his wife has to divorce that guy and again to remarry his ex-husband. So this whole process is known as nikah halala. Are you understanding this concept? What is the Shariat law? In this way, the Shariat explains the Muslim marriages. So, what is the talak ul sunnat? This talak ul sunnat is nothing but the iddat period, which has a validity of 90 days only. Then what are the major provisions in this act? So this act instantly invalidates the practice of instant talak. This act says you cannot say or you cannot give divorce by saying instant talak, which is known as talak bidat, which is void and illegal as per the act. So instant triple talak is a criminal offense with imprisonment up to the 3 years and fine if you are practicing such nuisance activities. Then you will be put behind the bars. So this act also says this offense is cognizable offense. Cognizable offense means the police can arrest you even after receiving a complaint without any notice, without any warrant. The police can arrest you. That sort of crime is known as cognizable offense. Then the next provision is the scope for reconciliations without undergoing process of nikah halala. So this act also giving a favorable response towards the nikah halala process, under which the husband and the aggrieved wife they sit together and they should draw a conclusions for the reunion. So without nikah halala, so in this process, the husband has to give his wife, his children, his even parents in terms of financial support. So what amount to be the, or what is the amount that is given in terms of allowance, that is decided by the magistrate. Second, the magistrate can grant bail to the husband after hearing the wife. So here the wife is the sole determining authority whether whether she is wanting the divorce or not. If the wife is aggrieved, or if the wife is dissatisfied, or if the wife is giving in unfavorable uh, remarks to his husband, then the magistrate can grant, the magistrate may give bail or not. All these processes is dependent upon the uh, hearing of the wife. So this is nothing but the Muslim Women Protections of the Right on Marriages Act 2019. Then coming to the next act, that is the Domestic Violence Act. This act is a major weapon for checking the growing trend of violence against women. So what the act actually says, this act, so this Domestic Violence Act, the full form of this act is the Protection of the Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. So in the year 2005 it was passed. In short, we are telling it Domestic Violence Act. So at international level, the UN Convention on the elimination of all forms of discriminations against women, it strongly condemned the violence against women, and it asked all the signing country or all the member country to ratify these conventions. So understanding the growing menace of this heinous crime against women, the in the year 1993 it ratified this UN conventions on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women provisions. So what are the key provisions under this Domestic Violence Act? This act, previously the Domestic Violence Act was confined only to the physical violence, where physical violence means when a man or his family members is attacking a woman, or it is beating, kicking, throwing objects, or any sorts of physical abuse, abusement there. So it was considered under the Domestic Violence Act. But after 2005, the not only the physical attack, here the verbal, the emotional, the sexual, and the economic violence are also added. So you cannot misbehave your wife or your spouse in terms of your verbally, emotionally, sexually as well as the economic violence. So recently a concept is coming, and it is uh, giving a huge response from all corners of the society about the marital rape. I am not going in detail about the marital rape. Please students, please have a look into this concept of marital rape. So under these provisions, the domestic relationship includes married women, her mother, daughters, and the sisters. This, as the globalization is approaching us very rampantly, most of the women or most of the men, they are preferring to live in a live-in relationship. Without marriage, they are living consensually. They are giving their consent to stay together. So in this case, if a couple is staying in live-in relationship, in that case also the women can take the help of the Domestic Violence Act. So here this act exclude the cases pertaining to the marital rape. So the new concept of marital rape is not being included under this act. Next, coming to the what are the protections that a victim is seeking under this act. So here she can get the financial compensations, that is right to secure housing and right to secure housing. So here when the women till the woman is not married to another person, till that date the person or the better say abuser has to pay the maintenance or financial support to the women. If the woman is getting married to another person, from that day the maintenance and the financial system supposed to be seized. Second, the court can say or the court can grant its hearing in favor of the woman whether she is willing to reside in its matrilineal side or in its in-laws house. So the woman has to secure a proper housing with care as well as with security. Here the punishment is up to 1 year minimum imprisonment and rupees 20,000 each or both to the offenders is mentioned. एक वर्ष किंवा 20,000 up to fine the court can sanction. Here a protection officer is there. Appointment of protection officers and NGO to help the women for medical examinations, legal aid and safe shelters. So a protection officer is being recruited for the victims who desire the medical examinations, legal aid and shelter. So if a person is secretly informing the protection officers regarding any form of domestic violence, then the all the details about the informant that must be concealed, that must be kept secret. So exclusions of the liability of the informant is very essential in this segment. So the Supreme Court periodically had given its favorable remarks on the Domestic Violence Act 2005. Supreme Court once told the safeguard women against marital abuse will apply after divorce. A woman can also file a complaint against another woman accusing her the domestic violence. If a woman if a woman is abusing her daughter-in-law, then the newly widowed woman or the woman can also file a complaint against that woman. Next, coming to the some of the important laws also related to uh, the Domestic Violence Act. So in a very nutshell, I will discuss the four important provisions in the Indian Penal Code. So as you know, the criminal justice system has three important segments, right? One is the Indian Penal Code, right? Code of Criminal Procedures. Another is the Indian Evidence Act. So this Indian Evidence Act is passed by the Indian Parliament after independence in the year 1973. this act came to the, because there is a rising trend in the domestic violence. So in the year 1961, the Dowry Prohibition Act 1961 was passed. Are you getting my point? It is very important law. So what actually a dowry means? So dowry is nothing but a gift demanded or given as a preconditions for marriage. Again, I am saying dowry is a gift demanded or given as a precondition for marriage. So those types of gift, those are given without preconditions, are not considered dowry and are considered to be legal. Here two important sections. One is the section 498A of the Indian Penal Code and section 304 subclause B are very important instrument to check the growing trend of dowry, because in the society we are finding many cases of dowry deaths. Another thing is there, the MTP Act, that is Maternal Terminations of Pregnancy Act. Here the women is forced, where the woman is being forced to terminate his pregnancy, because in their society, in generality we have a strong desire or we have a strong willingness for a male child. So to check the growing trend of female fetuses, so we have enacted the MTP Act in the 1971. In the year 1994, when the child sex ratio or infant sex ratio declined very rapidly, we have enacted the PCPNDT Act, that is Preconception and Prenatal Diagnostic Act. In this act, we can put a blanket ban on the sex determination of the fetus. So all this law you have to remember. The third, the very important one is the harassment of women at workplace. Because nowadays, under the influence of the globalizations, the women are not confined to the four walls of the home. They are moving from the corner of the home to the big society or the bigger world. So in that bigger world, in that bigger society, they frequently encounter or they frequently being harassed by the authorities. Some authorities are telling, I am giving you the job, please give me some favor in terms of your sexuality, in terms of your any options, language, all these things they do favor. So in order to check the this trauma or the growing trend of the violence against the women at the workplace, so we have made stringent laws so that they cannot be harassed. Their dignity is to be preserved and to be maintained. That's why we have encountered. So that's why we have enacted an act, that is the sexual harassment of the women at workplace. Very important. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Preventions, Prohibitions, and Readdressal Act of 2013. This act actually drew the basic spirits, the basic knowledge, or the basic theme from the Visakha guideline. So this Visakha guideline is set of code of conduct or rule for the women that governs and that tells about the safety of the women at the workplace. So Visakha guideline, please students, those are women, they should at least know about the Visakha guideline 1997, which is very important. So in this act, the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013, what it says? It says aggrieved women, very important, this word first time introduced to what is the definition of the aggrieved women, covers all women, very important, irrespective of their age, employment status, whether in the organized or unorganized sectors, public or private, covers clients, customers, and domestic workers as well. So whether you are being employed in public sector enterprises or private sector enterprises, that does not matter. Whether you are being involved in the organized sector or the unorganized, that does not matter. You are being protected by this act. So the concept of quid pro quo harassment in hostile work environment as forms of sexual harassment. Quid pro quo means if someone is saying you, dear X or dear Y, if you're ladies, then I am giving you the job. Please give me some favor in terms of that job, in terms of sexually, or in terms of your monetary, or whatever may be the quid pro quo, a little bit orienting towards the sexual attitude of the male one, the job providers. So that concept of quid pro quo harassment in hostile work environment as a form of sexual harassment. So for the first time under this act, this quid pro quo concept was inserted as well as the hostile work environment. Then for this reason, every organization that has more than 10 or more employees, it has to form a internal complaint committee, right? If a aggrieved woman or if a harassed woman is getting any sorts of violence or any sorts of sexual violence or any sorts of mental, physical, any or emotional violence in the workplace, she can directly approach to the internal complaint committee. So under this, so in this internal complaint committee, this committee has the power of civil court. If a woman is accusing, suppose, person X of, then this internal complaint committee can summon Mr. X. Please, Mr. X, you come. Discovery whether his, sorry, whether her complaint is genuine or whether his complaint is true or whether his complaint is original or not. And production of the documents also important. So internal complaint committee has civil court power. If the employer has less than 10 employees, then it has to form a local complaint committees in each district. If it is more than 10, then there will be internal complaint committee. If it is 10, then there is a local complaint committee. So again, in each block there should be a formation of the local complaints committee in each block, right? So this committee will do inquiry against the false and malicious charges. Sometimes the women also give, so it will verify or it will rectify or it will see whether her complaint is genuine or whether it is complaint is right or not. So we have discussed all the things, related to the protection of the women. If you have enjoyed this video till the end, please give your valuable support in terms of pressing the bell icon and pressing the subscribe button. Finally, I do request all of you to remain safe, to remain in home, and be in touch with my channel. So until the next video, stay safe, stay indoor, have a good day. Thank you. God bless.